The S95 started all the way back in 1994 and went all the way up to 2004. It had a 0 to 60 time of like 6 seconds and a quarter mile time of like almost 15 seconds at 95 miles an hour. This thing had an MSRP of like $24,000.
What's funny is that thing only had like 260 horsepower as well. Now what we have behind me is the 6th generation Ford Mustang, the S197 from 2005 to 2015, running a 13-second quarter mile at 111 miles an hour, 420 horsepower, 390 pound-feet of torque, with an MSRP around $37,430.
In the cream of the crop form behind me, the GT350. The S550 came out in 2015 and went up to that 2023 model year. That GT350, it could go 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds with a 12.5 quarter mile, all the way up at 117 miles per hour.
This is the 2018 minor update of the S550. 2023 was the last year running a 12.6 quarter mile at 115 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds with a MSRP around $44,440, 460 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque, 5-liter V8.
That brings us to the reason of the video, the fully redesigned S650. The 2024 Mustang. Today we look at the GT. We unpack the differences of trims. This old girl can do a quarter mile in about 12.5 seconds, low 4-second 0 to 60 time, and about 114 in that quarter mile.
Hello everybody and welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Austin, this is my dad Todd, and before we get into today's video comparing all of the generations of Mustangs from 2000s and on, we need to give a huge shout out to Apple Valley Ford for supplying the Mustangs in today's video. Every single Mustang you see in today's video is currently for sale and available. These two brand new ones are available at MSRP. So check out the link down in the description below, and thank you so much to Apple Valley Ford for giving us access to use all of these Mustangs.
Multiple generations of Mustangs here, and what I will point out real quick here is we're only about 15 minutes from the Minneapolis airport, which is a major airport, fun airport to experience. They have everything from mild to wild here. This little fella right here, it's a brand new S650 Mustang and it's available at MSRP. Down here, we have a Roush Supercharged, brand new, full factory warranty, 750 horsepower, mild to wild, multiple generations of Mustangs. Check out Apple Autos. Let's get into the video. Cosmetics is what we'll talk about and point those highlights out to you in this video. That is ultimately a main talking point for the new S650 Mustang, and let's start with those headlights. So on the S550 we had the vertical headlights, and now on the S650 we have the horizontal headlights. I think there's some debate on which looks meaner, which looks more menacing. To me, I almost like the S550 because of the angle and the vertical. It almost looks like mean eyes slanting down, where on the S650, it's a lot more modern look. Now, I say that comment with the headlights on. I have a completely different opinion when we go into parking light mode. When you turn the headlights off and have only the parking lights on, I think the S650 looks incredibly mean compared to the S550. So there's definitely an opinion on that. Let's talk about the front grille. So on the S650, the upper grille, they made it look a lot broader by kind of straightening out those outer vertical runs. But at the end of the day, like that opening width is within about 1/8 of an inch of the S550, so very minimal. The one difference that does stand out to me is that lower grille. Although the size is similar, the actual opening in the air that's coming in there is quite dramatic. Austin, what do you feel about the brake cooling on the two?
Yeah, so what's kind of interesting is that side vent on the previous generations is actually a functional little vent.
Right.
Whether it's for brake cooling, whether it's for a little bit of drag or downforce, I'm not really sure. However, it is a functional vent. However, when we move to the new generation of Mustangs, it's just a complete dead stop. There's nothing here, just a plastic hard wall behind this vent, except for over on the driver's side where we have a radiator behind there.
I want to come back to the lights in just a second because there's something really cool we'll show you guys here. But let's talk about the hoods for just a second. So on the S550, the GTs, it has that dual heat extractor that is functional although the openings are really small and you have to look at them when you're on the outside looking in. The GT350, the cream of the crop, it has that horizontal middle of the hood heat extractor, and it's kind of fun that
we got the same one.
Right, the S650, although a different design that I think even looks meaner than the GT350.
It looks even meaner and it's bigger.
It looks really good, but it's fun that they kept that same design concept on that hood. Let's talk about those lights right now.
Kind of cool looking at the functional heat extractors on those newer Mustangs. When we come back to the early 2000s, we just have plain old nothing. That doesn't do a single thing.
The lighting may be dim on us, but at least you can see the stars of the show, the fun lights, and that is a huge improvement on the S650. Just check out the turn signals. They integrate that into those horizontal daytime running lights, where even in 2023, that's like old school incandescent bulbs. It looks really outdated.
Yeah, and another thing that's really cool is they use those turn signal lights in white when you walk up to the Mustang as like a cool approach light show, which is really, really cool. I like that a lot. And it is a huge plus because it now matches the sequential tail lights that we have in the Mustang. It's pretty cool.
Let's look at those right now. What we do need to point out on the back here is the exhaust pipe. So we have the track pack, the red one down there,
yeah.
But what it doesn't have is the active exhaust, which the black S650 does have. So you have that quad exhaust that did come on the S550 as well, and it looks quite good. The other thing that you can point out on the rear of the car here is those reverse lights. So on the S650, it's a little narrower and a little longer. And the other thing that is interesting to me is I almost think the rear diffuser design looks slightly more aggressive on the S550. And the only reason that I say that is there's an additional vertical line on each side of the reverse light.
The Mach-E over here also does try to feature those sequential taillights up front with kind of doing a quick dash up front, and then we also have those in back. Let's check them out. As you can see here, we do have the sequential 3 lights. Let's see if the previous generation has those. We do have the 3 light design pattern here on the old Mustang. However, we do have the sequentials that came back here in the 2014 that we are looking at here. So it's pretty cool that that has been obviously a very long running Mustang trait.
Looking at the side profile of the S650 and the S550, there are some things to point out here. They are subtle differences, but at the same time, I think it does change the characteristic or the side presentation of the car. So on the S550, you can see that we have some jagged, bold lines, not only up high, but they're down low. And that line does continue back by Austin where it meets up with the tail light. Where on the S650, it's a much smoother design. There's no like boldness or rigid lines going on. Everything is really smooth. Let's talk about the rear end here because this is something it caught my eye the other day and I want to point it out to you guys. As you can see on that S550, we have the exact same spoiler 23 through 24 here on these 2 specific trims in these models. But what sticks out to my eye is like this right here. And maybe this has something to do with the tail light profile, but the dimensions of this car are essentially the same.
Yeah.
The wheelbase, the width, the height's a little bit different. The weight is actually higher on the S650, but again, it's all like minimal stuff. The length is a little bit different, about 1.5 to 2 inches, and maybe it's just that design cue there that makes it longer. But what stood out to me is it looks elongated here. So from that side profile, I almost feel like, especially depending on the color, that side profile, the proportions are just a little mixed up on the S650 in my opinion.
One of the things I also really like about back here is all of the generations of Mustangs along the back window.
Those Easter eggs are fun, I like them. All right, let's hop into the S550 because there are some dramatic changes here. I think Austin was in the back seat, so we gotta get this thing for my 6-foot tall body, which is, it's a breeze getting comfortable in a Mustang. So there's a few things that I will point out in here. And the first thing, like I get in this car and it feels old. Yes, there was some tweaks and some updates with the dashboard. So we have a digital dash. Everything is flat. We have the 2 haunches. Some people like that because even looking back at the generations, that's a similar design cue. And also like even the HVAC vents are similar through the design. One thing that sticks out to me is the center console. It looks very, very similar. So we do have that hand e-brake in the 23 model year that we're looking at. And just note that in order to get a hand e-brake on the S650, in an automatic, you have to get that track performance pack. That's when you get that party trick of that drift brake. Otherwise, and the Mustang will take a peek in just a second here, you just have that electronic e-brake that sits there. So this car feels good, but like my first impressions, and maybe my mind is a little tainted here after being in the S650, is it's comfortable, it's nice, there's nothing wrong with it, but it just feels old. It was like 5 years ago, I was sitting in this car at the LA Auto Show, and it's like the same car. All right, getting into the S650, I can see that fun color changing. I don't know that that's necessarily new. And before I was thinking that maybe the side bolstering on my legs is different, and maybe the seats are slightly different, but I think it was just the like new car smell and the excitement of the animation that the screens bring on that was catching my attention. I'm pretty sure these are the exact same seats, but there are definitely some differences here that add to the appeal of the S650, starting with the steering wheel, that flat bottom. That's always a fun, awesome feature, especially if you take the car out on track. The steering wheel updates with the buttons, as well as the feel is good. And I even like the design cues and the ergonomics of the airbag, kind of the rigid lines there with that pony sticking out at us. Everything about the screens is fun. The thing that really sticks out to me is, instead of that flat dashboard that we've seen for so many generations, that subtle tilt of the new screens, it really gives this connection to the car that you don't have in the previous model years. Like, you feel like you're more in the cockpit, connected to the car, versus previous generations, and because of that, I really like being in here. So ultimately, there's really not a ton of differences when it comes to the S550 to the S650, if you're talking about mechanical, right? So yeah, there's some party tricks or differences under the hood, but one thing I actually saw recently, and who knows, time will tell if this is accurate or not, an S550 that was stock actually dynoed at a higher number on the same day as an S650. So who knows what the story is there. Obviously, there's just that electronic double throttle body up front there that gives it some more horsepower and a few minor things, right? But at the end of the day, the performance numbers are very similar. The same transmission, the same mechanical stuff. There is a difference in the steering. So they changed the steering ratio. That's supposed to make it quicker and better than it previously was. That will be subjective to people's opinion. And they also changed like the mounting points of the steering rack to some firmer mounting points or something along those lines. So very subtle differences. I think the technology is really what stands out, and then just the preference on the design of the S650 versus 550.
Now, what is really crazy is just how radically the Mustang has changed. You wouldn't even think that this Mustang was built by the same manufacturer. It was loose feeling in the steering. It's slow. The interior and build quality kind of sucks. It doesn't look all that great. I don't think they look bad. And then we moved on to this generation of the Mustang, which this generation had some incredible performance variants. The Boss 302, the GT 500 came back. And this generation of Mustang truly was a great performance car.
Right.
And however, it had a super dated interior.
Very dated.
But however, the numbers on this weren't too terribly different from the numbers on the S550, right?
It is, but let's take note that you are my 21-year-old son here, and this all took place in your lifetime, this transformation.
It is absolutely insane how much the Mustang has changed in the last 20 years.
This is literally your legacy or generation of Mustang told through this like video right here.
Yeah, this is absolutely crazy. And then we have this right here, the Mach-E, which nobody really knows why this has
the confused Mustang.
Yeah, nobody really knows why it's an SUV. Nobody really knows why it's electric. Nobody knows why Ford put the Mustang logo on it, but that does not doubt the fact that it is not an incredible electric performance SUV. I would take this over a Model Y all day just because of the design alone, this color combo.
All right, let's get back to the V8 raw power, and let's talk about right here, 2015. Here's a point I want to make. When that Mustang was done in 2015, the straight line performance was very similar to what we're getting today in 2024, but there's a huge difference, and this is a point why you should love not only the S650, but also the S550. That was straight line, hit tree, hit crowd type of fun, and now we have a car that can go in a straight line. It can, what?
The first reported crashed S650 came out today.
Okay, so if you can drive a car, the S650 can go in a straight line, can go around a track, can go around an autocross. It can do them all like at the top tier.
Here's the next issue.
What?
Nobody that owns Mustangs can drive them.
Well, that's a whole nother issue. They also make a great daily driver.
Between all of these Mustangs, there's so much radical changes between the years. The Mustang is very near and dear to my heart. It is now the last muscle car in America. The Challenger and the Camaro are gone. The Mustang lives on. And it is just so cool that Ford took the time to build this for enthusiasts, and it's just amazing that we still have this option in today's day and age with a lot of the emissions regulations and stuff that are going on. I have to applaud Ford and thank them for coming after us enthusiasts building these two amazing vehicles.
So the question is out of these generations, which one is your favorite? Which one do you choose? If the best example is out there, comment that down below. Thanks for tuning in to today's brief video on the S650 and the changes that have taken place. We'll see you in the next video.